British Columbia doesn't just hold history, it traps it. Whole towns rot in silence while something still moves through them. People walk into places they swear they've never been, but somehow know exactly where they are. Encounters that don't fade, don't soften, don't go away, no matter how badly you want them to. And tonight, we're not skimming the surface of these stories. We're getting it from two women who've been in it, face to face with the stories, the locations, and whatever's still hanging on. Gina Armstrong and Victoria Vancek, creators of Haunted History BC, authors, researchers, relentless in tracking down the darkest corners of Canada's past and dragging those stories into the light. Since 2017, they've built a reputation for digging deeper, working with historic sites, documenting real encounters, and launching Canada's first paranormal magazine, while most people were still debating if any of this was even real. And what they're uncovering? It isn't just folklore. It's still happening. I'm Dave Schrader, and this is our Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. You won't know. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me. Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Good evening, my darklings. Here I am broadcasting live from inside the haunted Palmer House Hotel, Restaurant, and Pub in beautiful downtown Sauk Center, Minnesota. And it's about time that we visit our neighbors to the north. Maybe to the north. Maybe they're northeast, northwest. I'm so bad with geography. It's horrible. But they know where they are, and they're coming on tonight to talk us through this. I've had the great privilege of visiting Canada twice. Barely. One time I went to Sarnia, and I flew into Detroit, drove over the bridge, and literally the Holiday Inn Hotel right over the bridge was where they were holding the paranormal conference. So I made it in about 100 yards into Canada. Later on, I went to Victoria, I believe it was. I went to Seattle, took the ferry across, parked, and right there was my hotel. So I've managed to make it in about 100 yards both times. Maybe British Columbia, maybe Canada in general is just happy to keep me that way, just at arm's length. And I've not been back since, but I do hope to rectify that. And maybe this is the door that opens now that we start to hear some more of the strange hijinks that's going on there. Let's talk to two ladies that are a part of that. Victoria Vancek is with us. She is the co-founder of Haunted History BC. Victoria, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And as you can see, my friends, in Canada, they're very sweet, but apparently their dial-up connection is still working through AOL. So although we will hear Victoria Vancek, and for those of you listening to the podcast version, you should notice no difference. The video is a little staggery, but we've been practicing off camera here, trying to make sure we can keep things moving. Everything should be good. Victoria, joining us. Now, this is your sister, Gina? Is that correct?
That's correct. Actually, this is my sister, and she's the oldest.
I love that you dig that little Canadian nail into her back. Gina Armstrong also joining us here from Haunted History BC. Thank you for being here tonight, Gina.
Yeah, thanks. This is very exciting for us. I mean, we've kind of going to fan out a little here because we've watched you on various shows. So this has been quite a thrill.
Ladies, I'm not Rick from Pawn Stars. You weren't watching my show. You were watching Rick from Pawn Stars. But thank you anyway. I'm glad you're able to join us tonight and talk about this because, again, right, Canada's right there. Right above me is Canada. And I don't know enough about Canada. I don't know much about it except for the fact that your sister apparently just got knocked offline. We'll keep an eye on bringing her back in. It has the fascination with the paranormal for you two always been a part of your life, or was this something that slowly crept in?
No, it started when we were kids. So we always enjoyed a good spooky story. We like to read our, classics, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys. So it was kind of mysterious and everything to do with anything spooky or any of that. We just always loved as kids. Anything intriguing. We started with doing seances and kids' basements and, with our friends and all kinds of silly things that kind of intrigued us. So yeah, that was kind of our beginning. And then sort of into our adulthood, it kind of disappeared for a little while. It probably didn't go away totally, but then then around 2016, 2017, we started traveling to different haunted locations just for fun. We said, oh, there's a haunted hotel, and just mostly local. So we started exploring, taking photos. And before you know it, that sort of rekindled our love of anything paranormal. We took a ghostly walk. We were in Victoria, BC. So we took a fantastic ghostly walk. And that kind of ignited our interest in the paranormal again. So there we were. And then the pandemic rolled around, which was a whole other layer. We were sitting around kind of doing nothing. And we thought, well, what are we going to do with all these beautiful pictures and all these stories and everything? And we came up with a haunted calendar was the first thing we started. And then people kept saying, oh, you guys have to start a coffee table book or do something. So we started writing one book, thinking, okay, we're just going to write about a bunch of haunted locations and get a book out there. But there were so many locations that now we're on to volume 4 and It's still going strong. So it's been very exciting.
Well, maybe you could help me with this, because one location, and I fibbed a little bit, I did go deeper into Canada than just the hotel. I got to visit a really neat mansion, which I guess is part of one of the colleges now. They used it for the X-Men mansion. Do you know what place I'm talking about?
Castle.
Yes. And we got to investigate, and it was so cool just to be in the X-Men castle.
Okay, so you're one up on us because we've never investigated there. So I don't know if they would allow us. We've never asked, but yeah, I know that upstairs mostly as administrative, but we have been inside.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different stories. I watched some really strange things take effect, and a lot of the people that were in what is known to be some of the most haunted areas weren't having so much to do with the ghostly elements of seeing things, but they were getting really good EVP, electronic voice phenomena. They were, I had a friend of mine who was sitting there with a K2 meter and an audio recorder next to it. And this is back when K2 meters were all the rage, and she just loved watching it flash to her responses. And I said, well, have you even checked your recorder? And she said, well, no. I mean, I've been having so much fun with watching it light up the lights. And I'm like, all right. Because I was still questioning how fallible the K2 meter might be at that point. And she turned on the recorder and was getting a male responding to her.
Wow.
One of the coolest EVP I ever heard. At the end of it, she's saccharinely sweet to the ghost. She almost talks to them like puppies. She's like, have you been here long, honey? Oh, you have. Oh, is it? So she's very sweet. And at the end, she goes, thank you so much for talking to us. It has been such a pleasure. And then she stops. It was only her and the other woman in the room. And clear as day, you hear this voice go, the pleasure was all mine.
Really? That is incredible.
She was like,
is known to be one of the most haunted places. It has all kinds of activity. It has activity on the grounds, inside the building, and it's, major Canadian history. So it was a prominent family that resided in there, and then one of the sons got killed at war, and then the mom keeps waiting for him historically. And they said that, once it was used as an army training center and army barracks, that the young soldiers would wake up just terrified because they would see this ghostly lady sort of looming over them. And it was Mrs. Dunsmuir, and she was apparently looking for her son and waiting for him to come home. But yeah, all kinds of things happen there, like windows open, people hear music, people hear footsteps, they hear bangs and things in the office of, the owner who used to live there and built the place. So that is amazing. That would be a great EVP.
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable. And just that, so we got in that deep. We went to another little school. I wish I could remember the name of it. And while I was there and everybody was kind of off investigating, I was looking at the school pictures on the wall and went back to one really old one. And there was one of the creepiest little girls I've ever seen in my life. And I took a picture of the picture, and then I kept zooming in on just her so that it looks like it's something straight out of a horror movie. But you see all these girls with their little dresses on and their pigtails and everything. And they're standing there. And as I keep zooming in, and I'll send them to you guys later to see for yourself, there's this one girl in the front row, and she's just, for those of you watching, she's just
very stern and
glaring at the camera. I mean, she's like looking through your soul. And I was like, what is wrong with this girl? And they were saying, this place is very haunted. I'm like, yeah, by this girl's picture. She's terrifying. But it was one of my, I did get to see some neat stuff and learn the history there. But
Nice.
you guys, it's not just about ghosts in British Columbia. And Victoria, welcome back. I'm glad we're able to get you reconnected for the moment. What about your country do you think lends itself so much to this rich, strange history?
Oh, well, I probably would say most definitely. We have all sorts of interesting history in terms of like from First Nations to also all the pioneers and the gold rush. 1858 was like a big thing. It was quite significant for British Columbia for their gold rush. And a lot of people died. A lot of, I guess people who came in to settle in here, they've not only met and actually built up a life over here, but it was tough. It was tough to get in here, and it was tough to actually settle in. And also we have the conductors as well. We're like surrounded by the Pacific Ocean as well. So you never know. It's a whole bunch of stories, I guess, that are all intertwined. And I think with all the different landscapes around here too.
The geography, right? Yeah.
The geography is a big deal. And like I said, the history aside as well too, because Canada, if you think about it, is actually quite young compared to if you even consider Europe. Europe, like you can go centuries. Here we're just like, few 150 years old roughly, plus. But I mean, this is nothing compared to like when you look at 14th and 15th centuries. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. It's the people that came through here. They met hardships. There's a lot of hardships here as well, and a lot of deaths as well too.
Now, you mentioned the indigenous peoples, right? And we have that certainly throughout the United States with these stories. Do you believe that there are creature sightings that aren't necessarily tied to truly supernatural elements, but really are more embedded in the cultures of the people that were here, that were the original settlers of these areas? Do you believe that this is something that they've created to protect their area, or that they've found a way to commune them into reality?
Oh,
Totally,
could possibly be. Yeah, because there could be those types of things. Because a lot of the folklore is so passed down for years and years and years that, and we're talking thousands of years when we're talking indigenous people who have been here for a long time. So there could be something either true to that there could be those creatures, or just something that is more of a, cautionary tale that sort of manifests, and then people, think that they see something like that. But a lot of the creatures, I think that there's more to the story than we even know when it comes to cryptids or things that are in the ocean, things that are in the deep woods. I think that there are many mysteries out there that remain that we don't necessarily know about.
I would love to get a full understanding of, for a lot of these creature-like sightings, the things that seem to be more elemental or more mystical, are those centered more in heavily populated indigenous areas? Is it like these beings lived simpatico with the indigenous tribes, and maybe not so much in the parts where the white person has settled, right? Not as much there because they are more tied to the history of the people that were there from the beginning. Do you see that there are areas that are more known for these sightings, and those do seem to be in and around territorial areas that the native and indigenous
the more remote places? Yeah. What do you think, Victoria?
Right, and I do agree. And Gina, remember just not too long ago we were doing a Sasquatch walk just in my hometown here in Pitt Meadows, and we're just like at the Pacific Southwest, basically in that area. And it's same old story. It's the Pitt Lake area. It's called the Pitt Lake. And we headed out there, and that whole area is basically where the Katzie First Nation used to live. And that was like back 10,000 years ago. And if you do think about that, there is a rich history there. And it's just more the traditional and cultural stories as well that are tied to that. And same thing, we have a lot of high strangeness in Pitt Lake. I would have never thought in a million years that we would even have anything like that. I've lived here in Pitt Meadows for 22 years. And for us to go for a walk, and Gina and I always love to do research. So when we decided to do our walk, we were researching my own hometown, and I couldn't believe at all the crazy sightings that people saw. They saw these U-shaped lights, like beings that people witness. They were also talking about things like in the sky, UFOs, and Sasquatch.
Were you saying that these beings were on the ground and they were like
Yeah.
a U-shaped light that would be moving?
Exactly.
Because
No
I've seen the
photo-
upside down looking U-shaped
Exactly.
characters that
Those are the ones.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And it was a story about I think it was a husband and wife coming in through the lake. They were just going to the boat dock, and they were docking their boats, and it was late at night, and they happened to come across these strange lights, and they didn't know what it was. And actually the guy's wife panicked. And I think it sort of just mushroomed from there because they were freaking out, wondering, what is that? So they just packed it up really quickly and left. And the same thing, even there's Sasquatch sightings in there too.
They said it was as tall as a telephone pole. Like these things were tall. Like they weren't just a short, like ghostly thing.
Terry, not Taylor Swift, said Pitt Meadows. Is that the name of the town that you're referring to? Pitt.
That's it.
Yeah, Pitt Meadows. Yeah.
Okay. Now they're going to all be coming to your town, so be aware.
Well, it's a great place to visit.
When
We
you
do
see
a lot of ghostly walks too, and
a
spooky
busload
things,
of
so
darklings pull up, you'll know.
Very beautiful out there, and also it's well known for its cursed gold. It was also featured on Dead Man's Curse. I believe it was on the History Channel. It was with Crew Williams and Adam Palmer. They were these adventurers that went out to Pitt Lake to look for Slumax gold, and it was pretty fascinating. So we do have quite the interesting storyline over there as well.
Mr. Mario Neo says, I think that the indigenous people are more cautious and reverence, revere the energies more. Other cultures still encroach on these beings, and that's what when things get really interesting. That's certainly a good insight on it too. Let's talk about some of the creatures, and then we'll move our way through some of the other type of beings. So you see these light-shaped U creatures. Are they ever aggressive? Do they travel in packs? Do they create noise? Anything?
Not that we've ever heard. We haven't heard that they emanate anything, or that they've actually even acknowledged that people are seeing them. They're just there, and they're sort of passing through, more or less.
All right. And there's no rhyme or reason to what these are, or any time of year that they appear?
Not anything. It's been a couple of like just anomalous sightings, like maybe like 2 or 3 of those, like in that area over a span of not anything where there's a pattern. Like, I think with the UFO sightings, they're a lot more off. They're a lot more often, and there's actually a lot of reports back to the 1960s, FBI and CIA reports about UFO sightings and something people called a Sasquatch ship, but nothing about these glowing beings.
Are these beings being seen throughout Canada, though, or just in this specific area?
We have not researched yet.
Well, get on it, ladies. Come on, we got a show to do.
Look into that.
But I do have a theory about the U-shaped elementals or beings, because I know that in Pitt Lake in general, going back to indigenous cultures and beliefs, there is this theory and story about the Pitt Lake area, that Pitt Lake itself has many tunnels. So it makes you wonder what might be living in there. A lot of the beings or strangeness probably coming from there might be coming from the tunnels. I mean, we're even known for having these strange black lizards in there too, in the lake as well.
That's another weird sighting.
Makes you wonder what that's all about.
I'll tell you what it's about. It's about Dave not coming to British Columbia and going in the water.
Oh,
That's what it is.
yeah,
If
we
I
do
can
have
see
our fair bit
something
of
coming at
watery
me-
type creatures. That's for sure. We have watery type.
Yeah.
Well, we do.
All
Yeah.
kinds.
Even in Victoria on the island, there's around Vancouver Island and our capital city, Victoria, as well. They used to always, people would tell us that there's a place called Thetis Lake. And Thetis Lake is also known for their lizard man. So yes, British Columbia has a lizard man.
You guys are such overachievers. You've got lizard men and water beasties. Are these like the creatures in the water? Are they very reminiscent of Loch Ness Monster, or do they have different shapes like lizard?
Some are Loch Ness Monster types. Some are a little bit more like a large snake-like undulating type creature. So we have one called Caddy that's kind of supposed to be a little bit more like a giant snake type thing with just an interesting people have seen it over and over again too, and people say they have had video. So
Yep. Okay, Canada, thanks. I won't be visiting again anytime soon. Like I said, put me in a room with demons and ghosts, sure. Put me in a area with giant snake creatures, and nah, I don't need that. I've seen enough anaconda movies to know that never ends well for the dumb fat white
but they
guy.
have cute names like the Shuswagi on Shuswap Lake. So he's one that's supposed to be like a big, long, sort of slithery, and people have sort of seen him over time and have captured video, and nothing.
Like a water bear. You describe him as a water bear because he's all fuzzy and he's got like a little pelt. But yes, he is about 30 feet.
Maybe just he sounds nice looking, pettable maybe.
He's wearing a pelt. That means he ate what he took it from.
Yeah, there you go. And Gina, we have Mussy as well, right? From Muskrat Lake.
Yeah, and out east, yes. Yeah, in Ontario, they have Muskrat Lake, and there's a sea creature named Mussy, and they have a whole festival around him. Every year, people come and look for Mussy, and they have a big festival around him. Like there's a statue in the middle of the park, and so we're all very friendly with our cryptids up here.
Are there a lot of Molson beer factories in and around these areas?
I'm sure, and I think probably a little bit more
there could be some influence.
With it probably too.
Hold on, ladies, one at a time. When you both talk, I lose what you're saying. What was that, Victoria?
I was saying that maybe with Molson beer in there, you probably have a little bit more sightings.
Yeah, right. And that would explain why Chubby the bear snake is hanging out in the water. I can't remember his name. Yeah, it's probably just some naked Canadian enjoying the water out there, and it's half beer, half water.
In a giant snake suit.
Yeah, I'm a snake. I'm a sneaky snake. That's what happened to that guy, folks. You've been wondering about the original meme guy. He's out there slithering through the water of Molson. Oh, God. So with these water creatures, are there attacks? Are there well-known cases of people going missing in these lakes as well?
Ooh. Maybe not due to the creatures necessarily, but going on people missing is a whole other chapter of paranormal events up here, because we actually have something called the Canadian Triangle in BC. So we have places where people actually go missing.
Let's take a quick break. And we'll talk about the Canadian Triangle next and find out about the missing. But before I do that, are there any known attacks by these water creatures?
Not that we've heard
of any.
Okay, good. That's good. Maybe I'll still visit. We'll see. I got to think about it during the next break. We'll be back. We've got more to discuss. Creepy Canada, BC's haunted history continues right here on the Paranormal 60. Are you ready to step beyond the veil? June 11th through the 13th, something extraordinary is happening. Break on through, a 3-day paranormal experience hosted by me, Dave Schrader, at the historic and haunted Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota. I'm bringing together some of the most respected psychic mediums and paranormal minds for a weekend that explores the unexplained, featuring special guest psychic mediums Chris Fleming, Diet Renee, and Sarah Lemos. This immersive event goes far beyond lectures. Dive into fascinating classes, presentations, take part in hands-on experiments, experience powerful live gallery readings, and join real paranormal investigations. So whether you're searching for answers, curious about the unknown, or hoping to connect with something beyond this world, this weekend is designed to open doors you never knew existed. 3 days, incredible guests, paranormal exploration, and more fun than should legally be allowed. Space is limited, so reserve your spot now. Visit darknessevents.com for details and tickets. That's darknessevents.com. Come explore the unknown and break on through. We're back. This is Paranormal 60. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Victoria Vancek and her sister, older sister, as she's pointed out, Gina Armstrong, are with me. They are the co-founders of Haunted History BC. We were talking a little bit about some of the monstery creatures that are seen in and around British Columbia. And now you're going to start talking to us about strange disappearances and the what is it, the Canadian Triangle?
The British Columbia Triangle. I'll let my sister go into this one.
All right.
Okay, so Actually, we discovered this situation, this theory about the BC Triangle because Gina and I, when we do our historical walks, we do one area and we incorporate regional parks. So what we decided to do, we wanted to go and take a look at some of the interesting things about how people disappear all the time. And it's even in the States as well. It's basically, throughout North America. And the interesting thing was that there was something called the BC Triangle. And I'm not sure if you guys probably know, maybe Dave, you might know this guy, but it's it's Dave Paulides. And
Right.
Dave Paulides is a former, I think he was a San Diego police officer.
Mhm.
So he actually decided to do some research because when he was in the US, as a former cop, he obviously is very interested. So he started talking to the park rangers there throughout the regions. And he had discovered some, I guess, profile points, how people disappear. Obviously, you can have people disappearing. They fall through, I guess, like over a cliff or a crevasse. He completely decided that is not what he's looking at. He was looking at situations where people have disappeared in the most unusual ways. And obviously, you can have animals kind of attacking you and stuff like that. So he, of course, eliminated that theory as well. So what the weird thing was is that he had a friend here in British Columbia, and apparently he talked to his friend, and they discovered there's a lot of people disappearing here in BC. And I would probably say that throughout all the provinces within Canada, we have the highest rates of people going missing. And that was the most unusual thing. So he had discovered that when he was doing more research on this, he noticed that apparently these people, when they do disappear and when they are relocated, when they're actually recovered, either they are either obviously dead or alive, but they are found in areas that are very unusual, closer to bodies of water, places where you cannot really easily climb or get to. And people are oftentimes, even they disappear. And then they lose track of time. They don't know where they've been. So all sorts of weird things. So yeah, it was David Paulides who discovered it, and he dubbed this area the British Columbia Triangle. And Gina just loves it too, because we started delving more into this, and we discovered we have a lot of missing people here, more than anywhere else, which is pretty freaky.
We do.
Victoria, you're a little too jovial delivering that line. Hey, we've got more people missing here than anywhere else.
But it was actually quite interesting because I couldn't believe it. Like, I thought, we have a British Columbia Triangle. Wow, that's pretty impressive. So I was like kind of a little stunned by that. So we were both looking into this, and we thought, wow, like all through our regional parks, we better be careful because there are people disappearing even up north, like around here, like in British Columbia. They would go on a road trip, they go into the regional parks, and then they sometimes just disappear. They don't come back.
Very strange. When they do reappear, when they do show back up, has there been anybody that is still alive that they find that can explain or at least give some insight as to what happened to them?
No. See, and that's the thing. When they are alive, most of the time they are just disoriented. They have been found in an area that was not too far from them leaving, but oddly, when the search and rescue people come out, they can't find them. They comb the area 3, 4, 5, 6 times over, and oddly, they find the person just not too far away. And they're like, how did they appear? They don't remember. Some are just totally just disoriented. Some people just lose track of time. They don't even know that they've been away for like 2, 3 days. And that is really creepy too, because they even found maybe even some children who have wandered away and they have disappeared, but they're fine in places like where even a young child would not be able to climb or go to.
A lot of times they're in places that you wouldn't be able to get to, like the terrain is so rugged that you would need like almost equipment to get there, but somehow they miraculously are up there, and they're not even that disheveled. Like they might be a little disheveled, but nothing that you would expect like somebody to go that far, and they have no explanation how they ended up there.
Okay, yeah, that starts getting bizarre. Now, do you go out and investigate these areas yourself?
Sometimes we went up to Likely, BC, which is like the furthest we've gone, and it's up kind of in the middle northern area, so it's a remote town of like 300 people, and we've kind of poked around there and just to kind of look around the area. But you know, that being said, with all the disappearances and everything, we can kind of see how that can happen. I mean, these are rugged terrain. There's, you know, wildlife. So there could be possible, like, actual logical explanations to why people go missing. But the weirder cases are the ones where they say that people are actually with somebody, they're walking along, and the next thing you do is you turn around and the person's just gone. Or they find a tent with all their belongings, their clothes are folded, but like everything's neat and tidy, and just the person is just gone. So those are the weird ones.
Well, so you decide, oh, this is weird. So many people are going missing in our area. Let's go out there and see if we can become part of that.
Yeah, well, we want to talk to the locals and see what, you know, what the terrain is like, and just to see for ourselves, you know, could it be a logical explanation? Because that's usually what we look for. Is
the logical explanation is a bunch of crazy chainsaw wielding axe murderers out there, and you're poking around where you don't belong, ladies. Come on.
Well, maybe, but you know, so far we have not had any negative experiences. We haven't had anything weird, or, you know, the people have always been very nice, very helpful. And, you know, we go there to investigate all kinds of things, not only disappearances, but haunted locations. And we get all kinds of really good stories that we had no idea about.
How about the Canadian culture? Do you guys seem to just accept, and I don't mean the two of you, obviously you're crazy, but the rest of Canada, do they just accept the paranormal as just, it exists, it's here? Or do you have a lot of...
No, we're not that warm and fuzzy with our ghosts here.
Wow, really?
Yeah, a lot of historical locations, heritage sites, at first don't know what to expect when somebody says, oh, I hear it's haunted, or, you know, they're not that quick to share. I think they're just afraid that people will be afraid about, you know, going there, or not want to visit if they're... But I think us going around to the various museums that we've recently been going around to over the last few years, we've gone all over the place, that it is actually becoming more accepted, because people are inviting us places to do things like, oh, let's, you know, you guys come and do a ghost hunting event. And we do a lot of public events where we invite the general public, and we're anywhere from like 15 to 30 people, depending on which location we are. And it's really, over the last, I would say 2 or 3 years, it's become, I guess, a little bit more accepted, to the point where we get invited so much that, you know, that we're really, really busy.
So Gina, when you say you go out with 15 to 30, does that mean you start with 30 and 15 go missing during your trip?
No, usually it's a span. Like, we have 15 attendees, sometimes 30, but not in the same event.
Likely story, Gina. Likely story.
Everybody's accounted for. We always have them sign in, so we know we're leaving with the same amount of people.
What are those 200 IDs taped to your wall behind you?
The creepy wall.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, huh? There you go.
It does. Yep.
But interestingly, Gina, you mentioned too that the nice thing added to that is that at the end of this month, we're actually going to high school as well. This is our second time we're going back, talking about our experiences and what we do. So, and it was actually, I think, the head librarian that she asked us to come back. And so it was kind of cool. So we're going to be talking to a bunch of students, I think grades from 8 to about 10. 8 to 11, I think, something like that. But yeah, so it'd be kind of cool. So it'll be exciting.
I think one thing that we're especially proud of is that we've actually broadened the conversation around the paranormal to all age groups. So even our regional library of like 25 locations reached out to us last year and said, well, do you guys want to do your, you know, campfire stories program? Because we do an immersive campfire stories program where we set up like an LED campfire. We do like a projector for the starry sky. We set up a tent, and we actually read from our books. And it's like people of all ages come to that. And it is, you know, not only history, but of course it's a conversation around the paranormal too, because we share the ghost stories. So we've actually sort of brought all sorts of age groups and a variety of events. So not just a ghost hunt, not just late at night, but we do this kind of anytime and anywhere. So if somebody wants us to share a story, that's what we're sharing. We're sharing Canadian heritage, history, interesting things in our own backyard, and making it very engaging and immersive too. So I think that that's something that's slowly shifting.
Yeah.
Very nice. Changing the paradigm a little bit. So
yes,
people are a little bit more willing.
So people are not just like, oh, it's just scary and it has to be midnight for you to see a ghost, or it can be any time. We go do events at 2:00 in the afternoon, or we go do an event at 6 p.m. and it doesn't have to be like spooky dark, all the time.
Well, that's my retirement plan. 1 foot in the grave, Paranormal Society. When I get to that age, we'll start at about noon. We'll end at 3 o'clock for the early bird lunch special, dinner special at Denny's. Then we'll ghost hunt from about 4:30 to 7, and then watch the news and go to bed. I think.
You know what? I think that's one of the reasons that we found like a recipe for success for some of our events, because we usually, I would say, by the latest, we wrap up by like 9 or 10 o'clock. So we do a couple time slots, like one starting maybe around 6 to 8 o'clock. Then we go 8 to 10 o'clock. And those have been, I mean, they sell out. I mean, people think that, you have to do like till 3 o'clock in the morning, or, what you really don't have to, and if there's a spirit there, they'll come out and communicate anytime.
Very cool. Well, let's start diving into some of these stories again, as we kind of springboard from monsters to strange disappearances to UFOs. I mean, are there a lot of abductee stories? A lot of people that claim to have been abducted, and does that also center around these areas where people are missing quite often?
I don't really know of that many. I mean, not that many abductee stories. Not that I'm aware of. We haven't really delved into those, really.
But the UFO stories, and are they in that same general vicinity, seen in the places where people are going missing?
Sometimes.
It definitely is. And I know even areas like further up north, like we're right now, like closer to the Vancouver area. But if you go along the Gold Rush Trail, that's like more around like Hope, I would say Chilliwack, Hope, into Clinton. You just go up the map through the north until you get to all the way to Quesnel. I would probably say those are very popular areas, and they have all sorts of sightings for UFOs. But yeah, and it's an area too where people go missing, so you never know.
Do you have a famous UFO story from that era, or the area rather?
I would say the one from the 60s, right?
Yeah, exactly. Gina, that one.
Just because that one had an actual CIA and FBI report. So people started seeing things, and you would think that, and I would tend to believe the ones that sometimes happened earlier, before the internet, before social media and all of that, because people weren't expecting to see these. The people who saw these things weren't out looking for UFOs. They weren't looking for Bigfoot. They were just in that area. It was very remote during that time. It was very rugged and woodsy, and they found it disturbing enough that they called the RCMP, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police up here. That went to the CIA and FBI, and they actually found it credible enough that they did come and research the area, and they took people's statements of what they saw. And one of the actual explanations and descriptions was something called a Sasquatch ship. So it's in the paperwork. We found it. It's in our first book. We actually included the paperwork because it's on the internet. It's accessible out there. But they described it as a Sasquatch ship, which I think at that time, to put those two things together is something that's kind of compelling, because especially these days now in modern day.
Wait, what does that mean? What is a Sasquatch ship? Is the ship in the shape of a Sasquatch?
But they also saw spaceships, so they kind of put the two together. I think they saw like the creature coming either out of the ship or next to it or something like that. So that's a really interesting correlation, especially because modern day paranormal always, is wondering about whether Sasquatch is an alien. Is he an interdimensional creature? And for it to go, that far back and to be mentioned together, I think is kind of an interesting, story.
Agreed. And that was big enough that it garnered the attention of Canada and America.
Yes.
To come in and search it.
And those areas today still have sightings. So it's like Harrison Lake area, which is kind of down the road from Pitt Lake. And that whole area seems to constantly have sightings that are kind of a repetitive pattern. So there is something there.
Yeah. And Gina, it was, I think, Agassiz, right? It was Harrison and Agassiz in that area. So, and it was even mentioned in the RCMP report at the time. Yeah. The Agassiz region.
How did they treat that at the time? What it was, RCMP. How did they? I mean, were they just kind of like, okay?
They found it, I think, serious enough that they actually wrote a report about it. So.
And did they ever lean towards, because here in America, we'll write a big report about something, and then a week later go, well, we had Navy SEALs in training wearing green, rubbery costumes with big black goggles. So it wasn't really aliens. It was Navy SEALs. Has there ever been a story that's come forward where they try to dismiss what occurred and explain it through what they believe conventional methods?
Oh, of course. I think even some of the more, I would say, current sightings that people are seeing and reporting, they're trying to tell you that there might be possibly drones, or there might be something like an airplane. So, or like a weather balloon, like you can hear, yeah, they still try to figure that out and just sort of like kind of downplay the situation. But I think that there is a lot of things that people can't just explain. So it's not that easy. I mean, prove it.
I meant specifically to that story. Have they ever tried to come out with a counter story?
They've never followed up on that one, in the sense that they actually said that they dismissed it. They actually written up the report and submitted it, and then they left it as that. There was never a follow-up report after that saying that no, that nothing happened. There was nothing like that. So it's still it's in existence. It's there, but nobody actually followed it up and downplayed it.
Really tried to debunk it either, on the flip side. So it's not like there was like a big uproar or anything, or people just kind of took it at its whatever it was.
When the flap hit a couple of years, 5-6 years ago, when these strange craft were being viewed flying over Canada and America, and some of them were shot down. In America, it was, they were balloons, they were this, they were that, but yet they were very near military installations. I was wondering, how did they cover that in Canada on the news? Were they as cavalier and brushing it off, or did they say they don't know what's going on, or we're just going to lean on America's answer for what they're saying took place?
Oh, I don't think so. Yeah. So I don't think we kind of had the same reaction. I think here people sort of thought that it was something to question and definitely to explore it, and not just to take the obvious explanation. Because the fact that people were also seeing parallel type sightings, like in different locations, like why were suddenly people seeing groups of lights, like here, they were seeing them there, different locations, and it was the same sort of, same type of experience, which was kind of interesting. I've seen things, I've videoed things. I don't know what they are. Are they drones? I don't know. Could a drone be seen like far up in, to that brightness? I don't know. I've seen different things that I can't explain either, but I think we're at the point where we sort of think that, they're out there.
All right. So Canada's just a little bit more accepting on all of this right now.
Maybe.
Well, your prime minister and some of your defense people have been very open about what's going on in Canada, and that they've had UFO files for a long time, going deep, and they've been pretty. They're not releasing anything super detailed and intent that I've been able to find or uncover, but they have been willing to share the intel and information as they know it, right? And a lot of it is
the same with the states too. I think the states have had. There's been sightings, there's been videos, there's been people up there who have been flying military jets who said, I saw this thing and I can't explain it. And
right. But Canada, England, France, they all seem to be a lot more forthcoming with it long ago. We've only really started this disclosure movement since COVID, right? Mm-hmm. During that era, that suddenly they, right when the world is being shifted by a worldwide pandemic and illness, and that's the brimming news. I always thought it was a strange time for us to soft disclose, oh, by the way, there's UFOs and we can't explain them. Anyway, back to the millions are dying, get your shots, right? And I didn't know if Canada, obviously they seem to be a little bit more accepting again of that. It is.
Yeah, I think what the big thing is that we truly, from even how I feel, is that most people just weren't that surprised. They were like, oh, it's about time.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So you wouldn't be surprised to find out half of Canada are alien.
Yeah, there could be lizard people among us. I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah.
Or at least yours aren't wearing costumes. Ours are trying to be a little bit more hidden here in the United States.
But I think with Canada, Dave, I think one interesting thing is that even with our authorities, like they don't try, like if it's something unusual, they do bring it up. They say, yeah, something was unusual, but they don't necessarily try to find always reasons. Sometimes we have no reasons, but they don't say, oh, okay, so might have been a weather balloon or what. But some people who are online, they like to actually say, well, yeah, what you just recorded, that's a drone, but like our authorities, I guess when you see something, they just sort of like make everybody else wonder about it. And they just say, well, yeah, it was very unusual.
We're okay with the mystery of it all.
Yeah, they leave the mystery there.
There's something that we can't explain, and it's intriguing.
And if you bumped into a Bigfoot or an alien, you'd probably just say, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
We have to take a quick break. We'll be back and discover a little bit more about creepy Canada with our guests right after this. Hey, are you ready to take your writing seriously? It's time to take it to the next level, and I'm inviting you to join us for a Writers Retreat immersive weekend workshop. It's a dynamic, hands-on experience designed for writers at every stage, whether you are just beginning or the seasoned vet who might just need a little bit more help. Learn from industry professionals, including acquisitions editor Amy Glazer, publicist Kat Neff, and best-selling authors Richard Estep, Varla Ventura, and Jeff Belanger. From finishing your manuscript to crafting a compelling book proposal to marketing your work and connecting with the media, you'll gain real-world tools to move your writing forward. Participate in interactive workshops, receive expert feedback, and connect with a community of passionate writers. Hosted by author and media personality Dave Schrader. Hey, I know that guy. You can get more information on that event and more at darknessevents.com. darknessevents.com. Come out. Check out the Writers Retreat Weekend Workshop. That's hard to say all those W's in a row. Words is hard. July 31st through August 2nd at the historic Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota, where stories begin and writers are born. We are back, and tonight we're taking a look at British Columbia and some of the strange history. We've gone through some of the monsters. We've gone through some of the mysteries. We've gone through some of the UFO sightings. Now, with about 15 minutes left, ladies, take turns bouncing back and forth, but I want to hear your creepiest, weirdest ghost, demon, witch stories, whatever you've got. Who wants to start?
Okay. Can I tell you guys a story here?
Yeah.
Gina and I recently went out to a place called the Notorious Grey Fox. So it's actually a pub restaurant, but it is housed in a former BC penitentiary. It was British Columbia's, I would say, the maximum prison. And it was back in the early 1900s. It was set up over there. So finally, we actually had a chance to do an investigation there for the first time. Not only that, we went once, twice, and we're going back third time. It was amazing. So we had a chance to do an investigation there, but we actually had, previous to that, an opportunity to go downstairs into the, I guess, maybe like the cellar or downstairs, like in the, I guess it's a storage area. But
solitary cells?
Yeah, and previous to that, there were solitary cells, but not necessarily, I would say, not solitary cells. We discovered they're holding cells, because these were where the prisoners would come in through the entrance. It was more like an admin area, and then they were being processed. And yes, sometimes they were put in the holding cell for about a day or two while they were being processed. So anyways, so my sister and I were downstairs, and we were actually just thinking, hey, let's take a picture. It's kind of cool. We've got a light in the background. I was standing there with the light behind me, and Gina says, stop over there. Let's take a picture of you. So it was kind of a silhouette. It looked kind of creepy. So we thought this would be a great atmospheric photo. So it wasn't until about a few weeks later, Gina is reviewing her photos, and she sends me a photo of me, of my sort of my, I guess, my shadow there, my silhouette. Behind me, there is officially looking like a head, a shoulders, and legs. So it looked literally like a man over there, right behind me. And it was pretty freaky, because it looked almost like maybe something what a typical guard or warden would be wearing during the early 1900s. And that was really creepy, because I had not a clue that we would even have anybody or anything with us down there. So that was
recently we went there again.
Yeah.
And we did our little, take a Polaroid shot of, of the room. And I took a Polaroid shot, like 3 or 4 Polaroid shots, just to see, once people sort of cleared out, and we ended up doing a little session there, communication, and there was like this wispy white, we did post it, this wispy white, sort of like a shadow, not really a shadow, but it just looks like
a mist.
Classic apparition. Like, again, something's there. We've had some really good communications over there, because just interesting hits to our equipment. We've had interesting EVPs there. Probably the talking EVPs. This weekend we are going to, again, my sister's hometown, Pitt Meadows. We're going to the Heritage Hall. We've done several investigations there. That was probably one of the creepiest EVPs we've ever gotten, because we scouted around before we ever started doing events there, and we got a really whispery voice that says, like, what's going on? And it was really, really creepy. We did not expect anything like that. So not that we've ever experienced anything negative there. It was just kind of a surprise to hear that sort of a voice, that when you know you're all alone.
All right. What's our next weird ghost story? And are these, areas that are well known, haunted, maybe stories we just don't know about in the United States yet?
Ooh, let's see. What's a good one? Well, I don't know. One of the most famous places up here, and we don't ghost hunt up there because it's still an area that is used today, but it's Riverview Hospital. So it was a mental hospital back in the 1800s. And, much like the ones in the United States, it fell to disrepair. There was a lot of abuse, so it closed down, and people still go there. It's a very scenic place with all the buildings that are sort of dilapidated and, still beautiful looking. So people go there and they see some very disturbing things. Like, there's tunnels underneath these hospitals, and dogs won't go in there. I think people hear things like footsteps, the equipment goes off, and alarms go off, and different things like that. So yeah, hospitals are always a little on the eerie side.
Mr. Mario says, if I may ask, do you ladies ever hear of reports of strange mists that precede paranormal events that may involve alien beings or UFO sightings?
Ooh, mists.
I wouldn't say anything from alien or UFO connections, but we did happen to see, as Gina mentioned, the mist that was in the prison at the time too. It was right after we had a paranormal investigation going on. Yeah. And that was one thing as well. I know we were at a bookstore as well.
Yes, Gina, I was just going to say.
In Westminster. And remember, we were doing an event there, and we were doing our first ever investigation in that location. And we had so many hits on all our devices. People came. We actually opened up the event to just the public. We had a limitation on it. We had probably only about like 12 people that were allowed to come with us. But everybody we witnessed it. We witnessed a whole bunch of crazy things. And
but
when
somebody saw mist during that time.
We took a photo that time with with a Polaroid.
Yes.
And we ended up getting these weird zigzag lights in there, kind of like a mist as well too. So with that, we cannot explain.
And somebody saw the mist with their naked eye and said, "Oh my gosh, I just saw a mist kind of like on the ground," but nothing prominent, not to where we can see like a fog rolling in or anything like that. I would love to see something like that.
Oh, that would be amazing.
All right, time's just slipping away. We have about 7 minutes left together. Give me a couple more of your creepy stories. You guys have any witch lore and strange stories surrounding that?
Yes, Gina, SFU, Simon Fraser University. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that, because you're like, oh yeah, Gina, SFU. I thought you were getting real Canadian naughty on me there.
What's going on? So Simon Fraser University, we were up there in Burnaby Mountain, and this place is known to have some sort of areas where there was some different rituals done and things like that. So we went and explored, and it's a university, so we were on the grounds and we were poking around. We got some interesting EVPs that sort of mimic us. So when we're saying something, we got EVPs that sort of repeat the exact same thing. Plus, we were in the woodsy area, and we saw like this circle thing with a pentagram, or that was really eerie. So there is some witch lore up there in that part of the woods and near that school. So it's that one we'd like to explore a little bit more. That took us by surprise.
With the witch lore that's up in that area, what kind of stories kind of coincide?
That there were cults up there, that there were people doing rituals, that all kinds of gatherings were going on up in the woods and things like that. So yeah, it is an interesting location. And We went up there in the summer when most of the students are gone, and I can tell you that any schools or hospitals that are lonely and abandoned and empty have a whole other vibe.
All right. You got another good ghost story or two to wrap us up with here this evening?
Overland Mansion.
Okay,
Yes.
let's hear it.
Overland Mansion is an abandoned historic mansion. I wouldn't say abandoned. They do a lot of filming there. So lots of stuff gets filmed there. We went in several times. Some of the eerie things that they've got some eerie attic space up there and everything where there used to be a girls' dorm. And it just, it's kind of, there used to be a chapel because nuns used to run it, anything like that, where it's been changing hands a lot. There's a lot of interesting activity. So one day we were in there with a group, and all of a sudden we heard the doorbell ring. And I thought, oh, maybe somebody's just coming up to the doorbell, will let him in or for the event. And I opened the door and there's nothing. So nobody was there. And during the course of our event, the doorbell rang like 3 or 4 times. And one time I was in a room where I could actually see the front door. There was no one there. So this doorbell was ringing all on its own. Not to mention we heard like a girl singing. We heard, just a bunch of different things. We heard piano music. There's no piano in there. So one of our favorite locations, Overland Mansion in Burnaby.
Mm-hmm. And we had a psychic medium come with us that time too as well. And he right away just stopped right away. He looked up on the first window just outside and he said, no, he's not feeling it. He said that we should not be up there. We did go up there. We didn't heed his warning, but we did go up there. We were doing actually some investigations as well there. And I have to say it was a creepy feeling. And that is, Gina, where you captured the little girl singing. It was up on the first floor. Yeah.
The creepy gravelly man's voice on the staircase. The staircase is said to be the most haunted place in that building. So it's a huge, like a 20,000 square foot mansion that's kind of echoey and beautiful inside though.
All right, ladies, here's your final question for the night. You're in a room with 4 doors. Behind one door is the ultimate answer to whether Bigfoot exists. Behind the next door is proof if ghosts truly exist and what they are. Behind the third door is proof if aliens truly exist. Behind the fourth door is proof that God exists. But you can only choose one door. Gina, let's start with you as the older sister. Victoria keeps pointing out. Which door would be most fascinating to you and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with God. Because that's just been something that, exists in every single culture. Everybody, put the whole religious theme is out there, and everybody has their own beliefs about religion, and we put a lot into it. So I think I would like to know the answer to that one.
Even knowing that you're about to get the ultimate answer, and you could open that door and it might just be a giant black void.
And it could be that for all 4 of them. So
right,
you got to just take your chances. So I would be curious about that one.
All right, Victoria.
For me, it would definitely be ghosts. I would love to find out if they do exist, because there's so much about that, theories behind interdimensionals, all sorts of elementals, shadows, everything. So I would love to find out a little bit more about that. So if I could get all the answers behind that door, that would be amazing.
And again, could just be a vacuous void of nothingness.
Good.
How would that affect you? Would you give up and then just turn more into looking into UFOs and Bigfoot? Or would you kind of, I don't know.
I would try to go through the void and haunt everyone's asses then after that too, and go through different dimensions.
And right now it's a Schrodinger's cat. It could still be, it could not. We will never know at this point, because until we encounter that door. I think it's all possible.
Yeah.
Very cool. Ladies, if people are interested in finding out more about you and about your books, about your live events, how do they find you?
You can find us on our website at hauntedhistorybc.com, and you can also find us on our social media, Instagram, haunted_history_BC.
And if you're local, just come out to an event, and we'll show you some cool spots and hopefully hauntings and possibly a creature or two.
You ladies are going to have to get me out there to Canada with you, and we'll go investigate.
That would be amazing.
It would be great.
We'll talk about it. Gina Armstrong, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Victoria Vancek, thank you for being here as well. We had a great time, interesting discussion, strange stories from Canada. Good to know that even the neighbors up north are dealing with the high strangeness we've got going on. And there's kind of a comfort in calling these stories history. It puts a distance between us. It makes us feel contained, like it's finished. But nights like this, they remind you that distance isn't real, because the places Gina and Victoria have walked are still there. The locations haven't changed. The grounds haven't settled. And whatever left those marks behind, it hasn't left. The mysteries continue to pile up, and they won't be ignored or forgotten, not as long as Gina Armstrong and Victoria Vancek keep dragging them out of the shadows and into the world view. And I encourage you all to do that. Explore the strange and the unusual yourself. Don't just live vicariously through the stories of the guests and my tales here on the show. Get out and see the world, see the magic, the majesty, and the high strangeness that surrounds us every day. My wish for you is that you have a life filled with magic and wonder and awe, and that you always find something new to keep you going. Thank you for tuning in, my darklings. I'll be back again Wednesday with the Paranormal 60 News crew right here on your home for all things strange and supernatural. This is the Paranormal 60.